It starts with King Solomon in Jerusalem around 930 BC, a very successful king who amasses huge wealth, especially gold. You've heard of King Solomon's mines, King Solomon's gold. Well, you assume that it was actually in Israel, and it was, but currently it now exists in Indonesia. Along with 9/10 of the world's gold is in Indonesia, buried underground, hidden away. Considering that he knew that his country was going to fall apart after his death, he selects one of his most trusted wives, Queen Sheba, to protect the assets and the bloodline and traditions. Sometime after his death, she leaves with everything back to where she probably came from, Jawa. Jawa is Indonesia. There she established the courts of what later become known as Solo, after Solomon, Solo Jawa. The safeguarding of the gold assets, King Solomon's bloodline, and religious traditions of his court. The gold pile grows. There are huge flows of gold into Indonesia from China during the 1300 AD. China almost goes broke buying spices and wood. From Europe in the 1400 to 1600 AD, most of the gold taken from South America ends up in Indonesia for payment for spices, which are the most sought after goods in the world at that time. Pages in the essence of time, but I will make this entire document available for you to study. I'm going to tell you and show you exactly how and who the gentleman signing the dollars was, and who Sukarno was, and how he became to be. It's called the Illuminati breeding program. Legends of a shadow power behind the scenes called the Illuminati has long flourished in the West. This may be how it started. 1200 to 1300 AD, Queen Royal Kaidu, or however you pronounce it, a beautiful illuminated being. She literally shines up a room and never grows old. Marries the king of Solo. She promises to always protect the kingdom and return when needed. Her descendants takes the name of Chakra, Ningrat, the Illuminated. 1300 to 1700 AD, royals marry royals, and none other. The Jawa bloodline was important, and Chinese, European, and Middle Eastern royals all intermarry. In 1700, all major wars are basically between close or distant royal family members. They are all related one way or another. They fight over land and wealth. With the advancing technology, war gets more and more destructive, and in an enlightened moment, some agreed to try to systematically do something about it. So as you can see, there are 64 families, Asian, European, Middle Eastern, and Chinese. They all start to interbreed to try to do something systematically about it. The many wars in Europe was a very good reason to stop family interfighting, and around 1750, 128 of those world's most important royals agreed to a breeding plan. They married or had kids following a system having their respective first son or daughter marry or mate according to the same plan. Objective: create the King of Kings, the Enlightened One, a person who would equally represent each and every one of the participating 128 royal families of the world. So as you can see how the chart continues, 64, 32, 16, 8. Over the course of 7 generations, they slowly bring down the numbers of participating families. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, and then 1. Finally, in the year 1900 AD, the one is born. That was Mr. Sukarno, the one that you've seen with JFK, the one that tried to take the Federal Reserve out previously. One person who can honestly say, I represent all of you. Let's call him M1, short for Monetary One, because he holds control of all the gold from King Solomon and all the gold from around the world, and all the gold from around the world. With M1 in existence, it is time to move on to the next step in the plan. In 1920 to 21, they start to consolidate, call back their combined wealth with the intention of placing it in the hands of M1, Mr. Sukarno. M1 is then to redistribute the combined wealth of the world according to an agreed upon plan. 9 of the most prominent royal families representing different regions of the world were driving this project, together with the Chinese royal KS. One of the most active and respected among them were PBX, Pak Binu, M1's biological father and the King of Solo from the Chakra Nagret, or the illuminated Solomon bloodline. So in 1928, PBX calls a meeting to Solo, Jawa, Indonesia, for all the 128 families to attend. Here they sign a POA transferring all their combined assets into the hands of M1, Sukarno. He is then supposed to distribute the wealth according to an agreed upon plan, the plan of the experts. How it was supposed to work. If you have all the money in the world and you want to make that a better and more equal world, how would you go about it? This is a serious question. The people faced with this problem opportunity planned it along these lines, all with good intentions. First collected into one big pot, Indonesia, and the surrounding islands in the South Asian Pacific down there. And the surrounding islands in the South Asian Pacific down there. Set someone you trust in charge, but have checks and balances in place. One of the primary objectives was to free the nations from colonialism. That means the crown, basically. These new nations should be governed by guided democracies. So up on top of the world pyramid, there should be a forum where every nation has a voice and a vote. And that's how the UN got created. Originally, that was the original purpose. When ready, M1 should transfer the power of that world government body. It was called the United Nations. All these new and old independent nations needed financing to supply that and track all major fund movements. You need a central bank to all central banks, and that was the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland was planned to be set up for that purpose. To give everybody access to the best and brightest regarding infrastructure and financing, the World Bank was incorporated. The World Bank's job is to employ the best in their fields, who then plan projects and infrastructure solutions around the world. They will also finance projects that can meet normal commercial bank requirements. They also approve cash utilizations from the Fed and other banks. Your project needs a World Bank approval to get financed. To feed the private side of the world finance with cash, you need an outlet. The Fed were taken into this role. The Federal Reserve is what we're talking about, guys. It was to be the cash cow of the world on the private side of banking. They were to supply all prime banks with funding, the top 25 around the world, not just America, but all others. Here is where it started to all go wrong. The Fed became a political tool to push power agendas. Its owners eventually hijacked the whole system. Its owners eventually hijacked the whole system. So you see, Sukarno and Kennedy recognized this in the 60s, and they wanted to stop it because the Federal Reserve had started printing money without having gold-backed certificates, monetative easing, and they wanted to stop it, and they attempted it in the 60s. And of course, we know the result of what happened to Kennedy. What happened to Sukarno was that in Indonesia, the CIA decided they wanted to, of course, take him out of power as well. So they put together a coup, you might say, and they killed approximately somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million Indonesians in the 60s, 65, 66, right in that range. And they blamed it using propaganda on Sukarno. And Sukarno was then put on house arrest for the rest of his life. And Kennedy